It is exciting to see so many faces awake and excited this morning. Thursday is always a questionable day to see who's going to show up and be awake and be excited to be here. And it's probably mostly Florida people, but regardless, we're happy to have you here. So today we have a few things to present in terms of awards. A couple of housekeeping matters for our business meeting, and then we have some exciting plenary resource to present. We're going to kick it off with our awards, and I'm going to present with my good friend Michelle Oken, past president. We have several awards to give away this morning. You good? Yeah.
So, good morning, everybody. So the awards subcommittee is under the membership committee, and I'd like to thank the members of the committee that served alongside of me, Paul DeLoche, Stacy Warby, Nate Jensen, and Lillian Triplett. And we have 4 awards to present, and Jeffrey and I are going to kind of tag team this, so he's going to start.
So the first award we're going to give away this morning is our Perkins Award. The Perkins Award, for those of you who don't know, is in honor of Linda Perkins, who was the association manager for NACM for 1985 to 2013, so a good 33 years. For those of us who worked with Linda, we know that she was a really hard worker behind the scenes, and that's really about the merits of the award. It's about someone who goes above and beyond, does work behind the scenes to improve the administration of justice, and really is just humble about it. This year's recipient is very much a Linda Perkins in her own generation. This individual works in Multnomah County, over in the western part of the U.S. According to her CEO, according to one of our current board members, according to her current co-workers, she had no technology when she kind of walked into she had no background in technology when she walked into her role. But she's a quick learner, she's dedicated, she is completely resourceful. I've worked with her in a variety of roles on the website committee. She doesn't ask for acclamations, she doesn't ask for any type of award when we recognize the work that she has done and her team has done. She works with a great team of people. She knows that to do anything, it takes working with a team, and that she can't just be an individual contributor. She's worked with the web team since 2021, actually. I helped redesign the website about 5 years ago, and I thought I did an amazing job, but when she walked in with her team, she really changed the face of the website and really started doing some enhancement improvements, and I appreciate that. One of her biggest accomplishments is the core website. So nacmcore.org, if you haven't been there, is one of our partner websites, our sister websites. All of our core information is on nacmcore.org. That information and all of those resources were posted years ago, and May walked in. I just announced her name. I know. I got through the whole thing without saying her name. She walked in with her team and did a complete redesign to make everything more accessible and more easily to find, and we appreciate that. So for the 2023 NACM's Perkins Award, I'd like to recognize May Swisher. Where are you, May?
They just told me I had an hour to speak, so I hope you all have afternoon flights. It's a great honor to be listed among the NACM Perkins Award recipients, Christopher Steele in 2016, Kent Pankey in 2019, and Zanelle Brown last year in 2022. I can't believe that my name is going to be on that list of people. Thank you to the NACM Awards Committee and the NACM Board for the diligence and care that you took with the process. I joke when I come to NACM conferences that I want to make 100 new friends. Well, it's not really a joke. Thank you to the women from Georgia who let me sit at their table. Thanks to the ladies from Louisiana and the men from Louisiana who taught me about parishes instead of counties. And for inviting me to New Orleans next year for the NACM conference. Thanks to the pool friends from Washington, D.C., my Uber friends from California and Cleveland, and thank you to all the people that I've met here who've shared so generously about the work that you do in your court and that has inspired me to do better in my court. To my Oregon colleagues, where are you? Thank you for nominating me for this award. My teammates back at home, still asleep in Oregon, thank you for doing all of the work that is being recognized here. We all do the hard work of administering justice, but I think we do the even harder work as leaders of bringing up the next group of leaders to do this same work in our courts. I promise that for the list of accomplishments that they talked about and wins for the organization of NACM and for my court, I'm only working in the way that has been modeled to me by the leaders in my court and the leaders around the country. So if you're looking for a new NACM friend, or you just need some IT support, there's room at our table. Thank you.
It's really a demonstration of what NACM is, and NACM is an organization based on people who volunteer their time. May and her team are incredibly busy doing all the IT work that they do for their jurisdiction. I know all of us in this room know that we really depend on our IT folk for solving the problems that are immediate, but by the time they show up to your computer, it's no longer a problem when but thank you, May. Thank you, Multnomah, for all the work that you've done to support NACM, for the website, and all the projects beyond that. Just thank you for the humbleness that you've presented just to help NACM become what it is. Next, I wanted to present the Enhancing Justice Award. Enhancing Justice Award recognizes courts and organizations that really go above and beyond the call of duty in terms of projects, in terms of moving the court profession to a whole different level. Generally, the Enhancing Justice Award goes to teams that have worked tirelessly to implement initiatives that really change the face of the way courts can operate, locally and globally. This year's award, and I can say their name right now because they're not here, but this year's award goes to LA County Superior Court for the Los Angeles Superior Court CARES project, the Court Advanced Routing e-filing system. It's an e-filing document routing system that LA has designed. It works with their case management system to route all of their case files for all their different case types in LA County. It's saved them processing time. It's saved staff time. It's enhanced productivity and efficiency. We've been told, I've not used this, so all this goes on nomination, but it's configurable. And we all know that in our local systems, configurability is a really big deal. Overall, it's just saved LA County a great deal of resources. And LA County couldn't be here, unfortunately. David Slayton is the new executive director of LA County, couldn't be here. But if I know anything that LA County and the state of California has ever produced, it's top notch. It serves a great deal of the population. and it really serves the citizens that have to go through the court system. So for this year's Perkins Award, or I'm sorry, for this year's Enhancing Justice Award, I present it to LA County Superior Court. So join me in congratulating them.
So the next award is our Outstanding Early Career Professional Award, which recognizes distinguished service and outstanding contributions to the profession of court administration and the judicial system by an early career professional. This year's recipient has been an employee in the judicial branch with the United States courts for approximately 2.5 years, serving first as an executive assistant and currently as office administrator. She has chosen to be involved in both NACM and the Federal Court Clerks Association to further her professional development. Just to name a few of her accomplishments, she has been an active participant on the ECP committee and presented an informational session on creating a career learning plan, facilitating the discussion with committee colleagues. She was also an active member of the work group responsible for revising the NACM Core in Practice Guide, consistently participating and contributing at meetings, and volunteered to lead a subgroup of the Guide Committee. She prepared and submitted an article for Court Express with a summarized book review. Lastly, she's an exemplary ECP member and has brought and demonstrated interest, energy, enthusiasm, and a willingness to contribute. Please join me in congratulating Katie Hemphill as the 2023 Outstanding Early Career Professional.
Well, I wasn't told whether I was supposed to say anything or not, but I just want to say thank you to all of the other early career professionals that I've served with on the subcommittee. Being a part of NACM for the past couple of years has been a great experience, and I've learned a lot from the people that I've met through the group. I signed up for the mentoring program last year and was paired with a wonderful mentor, Janet Cornell, who's taught me a lot about the court profession in the short time I've been here. And for anyone in the room who is eligible, I would really encourage you to join up with the subcommittee. It's a very low commitment, but you get to meet some amazing people and just really get involved with the group. So thank you.
And finally, the Award of Merit is NACM's most prestigious award and recognizes distinguished service and outstanding contributions to the profession of court administration on a national basis. This year's recipient is extremely well regarded and highly respected within the profession of court administration on a local, national, and international level, as evidenced by the 8 letters of support submitted on his behalf. His resume is quite extensive and impressive, making it impossible to name all of his accomplishments, so I will highlight just a few. In 1977, his career commenced in Rockford, Illinois, where he first served as an adult probation officer, pre-sentence investigator, writing submissions to judges where he learned how to write, then an assistant superintendent, and finally court administrator. From 1988 to 1991, he served as an associate director, then assistant director of the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts. In 1991, he moved to Phoenix, Arizona, serving the Superior Court of Arizona in Maricopa County in a variety of positions, ultimately serving as the Judicial Branch Administrator from 2003 to 2012. Then in 2012, he became the director of the Court Services Division for the Administrative Office of the Courts in Arizona, and recently in 2021 was appointed deputy director. This year's recipient has been an integral part of NACM for many years, providing outstanding service as the court manager editor from 2001 to 2006, was an active participant on the committee that created the original core competencies, served as a director on the NACM board, and then moved up the officer ranks to the presidency in 2008. He has authored over 30 articles on a variety of subjects for NACM, the National Center for State Courts, the International Association for Court Administration, the American Bar Association, just to name a few. He has given numerous presentations on various topics related to court management and administration and regularly presents at NACM conferences. In fact, he presented here, teaching courses for the Institute for Court Management as well. Our recipient has demonstrated his passion for court administration through his work and service on national and international committees and boards in addition to NACM. For example, the National Center for State Courts Institute for the Advancement of the American Legal System and other subcommittees for the National Center. For many years, he has served as faculty for the Institute for Court Management, has received many honors and awards, including but not limited to the National Center for State Courts Award of Merit and Star Award, Institute for Court Management, the Warren Burger Award of Excellence in Court Administration, the Pillars of Honor Distinguished Service Award, Maricopa County, and Ernest Friesen Award of Excellence, Justice Management Institute. In his spare time, he thoroughly enjoys landscape photography. You can find some of his breathtaking photographs and writings in online publications and magazines. Finally, he and his wife of 46 years have 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren who are the lights of their lives. I could go on and on about his accomplishments, but the one thing we all agree on, he's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. So please join me in congratulating Marcus Rankensmeyer, the 2023 recipient of the Award of Merit.
Well, good morning, everyone. Honestly, I'm a bit overwhelmed, and I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And Michelle, you make me sound so old. But I want to thank you, honestly. The contacts I've made over the years, the friendships, it's something you really can't put on paper. You can't really kind of put it into words. And I think we should thank this awards committee. You can tell they really do look at merit. They consider a lot of various factors in the work they do. And so I want to thank the committee. I want to thank my good friend Michelle and the board as well. Okay. And I won't be too long, but I do have a couple comments to share with you if it's okay. And I thought about using maybe, what do you think, some AI, GPT chat for some inspirational, kind of aspirational comments. But then I kind of read about this computer hallucination, where it will kind of create its own citations and the like. So instead, I'll kind of speak from the bottom of my heart. As you know, any success in this field, honestly, is very much a group effort. And I know back at your courts, you have your local teams, you work closely with your staff and the bench. And that's kind of been my approach through the years. And so I wanted to, if I can share just a couple names here. I was blessed with a couple mentors that helped me, and I love NACM's mentorship program, and I hope you folks will think about that, either participating or serving as a mentor. It's just been great. So for me, it was Sam Conti, who was the state court administrator of the state of Illinois, and then Gordy Griller. A lot of you I know are familiar with Gordy. And both of these fellows, they exposed me to sort of big-time court administration, how to work with the judges, and then some areas of real substance when it came to facilities planning, technology, and the like. But what really helped is they served as confidants. These are folks, years later, I could talk to them about, what do I do here at this point? How do I approach this problem? And a couple of times I even thought about going out of the field, and they kind of gave me that, that confidence and kind of that true north to kind of stay focused. And so I want to thank those two folks if I can. I want to thank the Arizona team here. We're so blessed. We've got judges, administrators here, clerks of court, and I just think I'm so privileged to work with you folks. So can I just acknowledge these folks, a shout out? Yeah, and I will not name names, but I was kind of doing a little tally last evening, and I guess, again, I feel very old. I've worked directly with 7 presiding judges over the years, and then 5 chief justices, and what an honor. These folks have just been so collaborative. They're kind of like partnerships. I always think you spend more time with your presiding judge than maybe your wife or your family. But they've helped me, I think, maybe to grow professionally, but also to really develop some good strategies for the court over the years. And so that's just such a blessing. And then last, Michelle mentioned family, and Anita's here. And maybe, Anita, you could stand up just, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just so blessed with their support. You all know the crazy hours we work, right? And we're even at home sometimes, I don't know, I'm kind of preoccupied with work, and sometimes those interruptions we would have as well. But she's always been there, kind of a lifetime soulmate. And also, if you ever work on any projects with me, you'll find out Anita's a very good editor. And my friends have coined her Eagle Eyes, okay? Because she will catch some grammaticals that I have totally missed. But I just want to thank you, Anita, and the family. Let me just mention, if I can, a couple other things, and we can move on then. I was just so struck yesterday with our president's message, Jeffrey, on the state of the profession and the progress we've made. It is significant progress. But I was also struck about the state of courts, okay? And to me, it is very much a tale of two cities. We have some serious attacks on the judicial branch. You're aware of that. Concerns about the confidence and trust in our courts and government institutions just generally. I can just tell you, my kids do not trust any government. And it's just really very troubling to us as a family that we're kind of at this point. And at the same time, I see such great things going on, okay? We're really leaning forward when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion. Think about public access to courts. We have made such huge gains. And I'm kind of, I guess, a technology maven. I'm really excited about what AI might do, let's say, in the way of litigant services. So kind of these two worlds. And early in my career, I'll just share with you, there was so much discussion. I see Kevin and some of the others here about this relationship between us and the judges and the bench and the role of court administration. Would it be kind of a limited role? We would kid, maybe we'll carry the bags, okay? Or we'll be good support staff. We can maybe take minutes. Or will we be more active? And if you folks seen the play, the musical Hamilton, some of you? What a terrific production. And that line in there was, I want to be in the room. I want to be in the room where it happens, okay? Hamilton wanted so badly to be in the room where the decisions were made, whether it was matters of war or the economy, policy. I'm like, we're in the room now, folks. I have seen the progress. We are in the room to kind of help with that kind of planning and decision making. And I, for one, I'm really grateful. And I think NACM has really helped us to gain that credibility, right? And so my suggestion for you, if I had any suggestion, is to just take this moment, sort of seize the moment and be as involved as you can. I know you're here and you're all committed. There's a terrific quote I really like, Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. We make a life by what we give. And that's kind of where I've found a lot of my joy, is sort of those extracurricular kind of activities. So when I look around the room here, I think a lot of you folks could certainly serve as mentors, but some of the work in your courts would be of such interest to other courts, right? So do think about, it doesn't have to be a big scholarly article. You might want to think maybe just about a short little best practices piece that you could share in the Court Manager or the Court Express. Likewise, we've talked about all the committee work that you can do with some of the associations. I just love working with ICM, the National Center, ISLES. Those kind of groups will give you opportunity for professional growth. Well, you've been very attentive, and again, I want to thank you. And I'll just leave you with the quote. I don't know if any of you folks had had the chance to work with Jonathan Lippman. Interesting guy, had been with the New York courts, and he served in a number of capacities, but at one point was state court administrator and then Chief Justice. And I always sort of looked up to him over the years. But here's kind of what he talked about in our mission, the role we would play. Given our pivotal role in government, society, and the profession, the judiciary can and it should be the agenda builders, pushing the envelope for the entire legal community when it comes to the pursuit of justice. This is our historical task, and it's our duty. So just kind of let those words resonate. And again, I want to thank you for the recognition and also just for listening this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Marcus. So all of the award recipients, if you could please join us on the side here for a picture, it'll be very quick.
All right. Moving right along, as you remember on Monday, we talked about our NACM Cares charity, the Foundation for Community-Driven Innovation. I do want to recognize they're not here this morning to receive their donations, but NACM, through their online giving and through our in-person giving, was able to contribute several $100s that we'll be presenting in the form of a check to the foundation later this week. So thank you for any of those who donated to our NACM Cares charity. For the NACM board, it's a really important deal to make sure that we give back to the local community in which host our conferences. So thank you for those who presented to that. With that, we'll go ahead and just move into our regular business meeting that we began on Monday. So I'll go ahead and reconvene our business meeting. The first item of business is just to do a confirmation of our proposed bylaw amendments. As you'll remember, on Monday, the governance committee presented 6 different amendments to our bylaws that we summarized and made available in the app for everyone to vote on individually. As the voting closed at 1:45 Eastern Central Time, Eastern Pacific Time, on Monday, and overwhelmingly by majority approved the bylaw amendment. So we'll work with the governance committee to make those amendments permanent into our bylaws and have those published very quickly. My favorite part of the business meeting on Thursday is the introduction of the new board. A year goes by so fast. I've been a board director and an officer with NACM for 8 years now, or 7 years now, going into 8 years. And the board that you work with just becomes your family. It becomes your brothers and your sisters. And there's not much that you can do without the board of directors. And I'm incredibly grateful for the board that I've worked with this year. Countless times this week, I've called upon people just asking, can you take care of this? Will you do this? And people are willing, people are excited, people want to help. And the board has worked tirelessly to make everything that you've accessed, your resources, the core, the conferences, the webinars, the podcasts, they've worked tirelessly to make those available. And they don't complain. NACM is a volunteer job, and the board always talks about the amount of time it takes to accomplish what we do on a volunteer basis. I run 2 concurrent calendars during the daytime. I run my NACM calendar and I run my work calendar. And rarely do they ever just coincide nicely. They always conflict. And I just accept that. It's just part of my love for NACM, and I accept those hurdles. But again, I couldn't do it without my board of directors. So I do want to make sure that I recognize the outgoing board. Kent Pankey for Virginia is one of our outgoing board members. Kent has been a critical part of the governance committee. Kent is a very methodical individual. He is a very detailed individual, and he helped make the bylaw amendments what they were. I'm not that person, and so that's why I appreciate Kent's contributions to the board and what NACM is. I need to recognize Greg Lambard from New Jersey. Greg and I have known each other for many years through Greg's service on the board. Greg comes from New Jersey with a great deal of experience from New Jersey. Jude Delpore worked in New Jersey. So a great deal of NACM history comes from New Jersey, and Greg brings that with him on his shoulders. Angie Van Schoik from Colorado cannot be here today. Angie has been on the board for about 5 years. She served in an open 2-year position and a 3-year position. Angie is, she's a doer. She'll sign up for anything. She's quirky, and she knows that. But And that's great. I think that's if you know who you are, that's fantastic. So thank you to Angie and to Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin, I think, already flew out, or I don't think she's here. Oh, there she is. Okay, she's leaving shortly. Kathy's been just an amazing friend. I remember when I first started going to NACM back in the early days, and I was a runner back then. I'm not a runner these days, but I participated in the fun run, and I was always curious who that one person was that was always on stage getting recognized for being first place. And I was jealous and envious. And I thought, well, but it was Kathy all these years, but she was far more than just that athletic runner. She was a friend, a colleague, a dancer. If all of you that have been to NACM conferences know that Kathy's a great dancer. She's smart, she's driven, and she's also humble. She's been a great mentor over the last year. You don't walk into these roles knowing everything. You lean on the support of past presidents and the immediate past president. So Kathy, thank you for everything you've done for me, for the board, for this association. You've taken us to new levels and new heights, and I appreciate that. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce your new slate of officers. It was proposed by the nominations committee on Monday. They were introduced as a slate by acclamation on Monday, but they will be sworn in this morning. So I will introduce them individually, and if you can just hold your applause until I get through the entire slate, I'll appreciate that. So your new incoming 2023-2024 president, Rick Pierce. Your new president-elect, Tina Madison. Your new vice president, Kelly Hutton. Your new secretary-treasurer, Greg Lambard. Your new immediate past president, Jeffrey Sindikawa. The best one, thank you. So excited about that. One of your new directors, Nicole Garcia from Arizona. Nicole. Woo! One of your new directors from Pennsylvania, Credell Webb. And one of your new directors from Georgia, Nathaniel Mingo. These are your new officers and your new directors, so give me a round of applause for them. It really is an exciting moment to pass the gavel to someone else, which we'll do here in a bit. But with that, I wanted to go ahead and introduce one of our new guests this morning, the State Court Administrator of Pennsylvania, Andrea Tuman. Andrea is the Court Administrator for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Coming from Texas, when I introduce someone from the Commonwealth, it's a very interesting term, but it's a very important term for Pennsylvania. Andrea will take on this role in October 1st of this year, following the retirement of their Court Administrator, Jeff Moulton. She's currently the Deputy Court Administrator, which probably has the same amount of stress and responsibilities as the Court Administrator. She's been in a leadership position as in the AOC since 2001, so she's not new to courts, and she is here to do the administration of the oath for the officers for 2023. So Andrea, can you join me on stage?
Good morning. It is such a pleasure to be here with the members of the National Association for Court Management. This is my first NACM conference. It's been exciting and thrilling and educational, and I've learned a lot. And if you will allow me just to make a few brief remarks before we bring the new board up to be sworn in. I've been so impressed this week by the fellowship and support that NACM offers its members through education, through committee work, and for opportunities to network and socialize. This kind of fellowship and support is truly needed in our line of work. The challenges we face in the courts are many and often may be daunting. However, through participating in conferences like these, we make connections, we learn from our colleagues who represent many different jurisdictions, how they've tackled new initiatives or moved a seemingly intractable situation towards resolution. And hopefully, we return home and practice some of what we've learned in the last several days. I'm so honored to be here today to swear in your new board, but before they join me up here on the podium, I would like to acknowledge your new president, Rick Pierce. Rick knows that our Chief Justice, Deborah Todd, truly wanted to be here today to celebrate and support him. She asked that I present him with a citation, which if you will allow me, I will read. Whereas the Supreme Court is pleased to recognize those individuals who, through their laudable tenure of service, contribute in a meaningful way toward the well-being of their communities, this court, and this Commonwealth. And whereas Rick Pierce is worthy of honor and recognition for his distinguished service to the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania court system. And whereas Mr. Pierce has spent more than 35 years in service to the courts as court administrator in Cumberland County, and most recently as judicial programs administrator for the Administrative Office of Pennsylvania Courts. Whereas Mr. Pierce has been elected as president of NACM, and whereas during his tenure as president, Mr. Pierce will highlight the need to fulfill the promise of justice for all through connection by focusing on the importance of racial and social justice. Now, therefore, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania recognizes Rick Pierce for his exemplary service within court administration and congratulates him on his installation as president of the National Association for Court Management. Signed, Chief Justice Deborah Todd, Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. On behalf of the Administrative Office of Pennsylvania Courts, Rick, I thank you for your dedicated leadership and service to our judicial system. You seek to continuously improve the effective and efficient administration of justice, not only at home, but through your participation in national and state associations. You routinely lend your expertise, your creativity, and enthusiasm to ensure that we are engaged in approaching our work with an eye towards innovation and excellence, to ensure that public trust and confidence in our courts is maintained. We're so proud of you, Rick, and all that you have achieved. It is now my distinct honor to ask all of the officers and board members to come up and take your oath, please. Okay, we're all here. Kindly raise your right hand, and when I say state your name, please do the deed. I state your name. I, Deborah Garcia, do solemnly affirm that I will support and uphold the principles of the National Association for Court Management, and that I will perform the duties of my office faithfully, impartially, and justly, to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations, your new NACM board.
I've gotten a lot of messages this week about some affirmation on my State of the Profession speech, about the things I've done over the last 12 months as my role as president. And they're humbling. And they've meant a great deal. I've made a lot of new friends this week. People have walked up to me, introduced themselves, and just hugged me and thanked me for just being who I am. And that's really all it is I've just been who I am for the last 12 months. I'm typically the person that sits on the outside of the room. I'm not the first to take a seat at the table and join the conversation. I'm the person that will sit in the corner and listen and process and maybe make a comment at the end of a meeting. But I'm not that person that takes center stage and takes the microphone. I can and I will, but that's just not my role. So if there's anything I will leave in my last minute of being president, counting the seconds at this point, be present if you're given the opportunity. If you're at a meeting, if you're meeting with your presiding judge, if you're meeting with the entire en banc of the court, just be present. Your representation is incredibly important to our profession and to the way our courts process the work that they do. I would say be heard. Again, your voice is important. Your voice is probably the most important voice in the room. We all know that court administrators, court managers, court supervisors, anyone works tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that our courts operate efficiently and effectively. And rarely do we get that recognition that we feel like we deserve. But we don't ask for it. We do it because we love it. We do it because there's a calling in our heart to go back to the courthouses day after day and give our litigants, our self-represented litigants, the opportunity to be heard and have their cases heard just like everyone else. And lastly, the one thing I wanted to say is be brave. I walked into this role scared to death. I didn't think I could take on the responsibilities, the expectations. Speaking in front of people is just, I've not hidden that from anyone. It's not my strong suit. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I've embraced it because it's important to be heard. It's important to lend your voice about yourself and what you do to other people. On Tuesday, I joined a group of amazing individuals for lunch. I joined the past presidents for lunch. I walked into that room with a lot of anxiety. I thought I was going to be hazed over lunch. And I'm still very concerned something is in my future. But if you don't know the past presidents, they're all here. I mean, most of them are at this table right here. They were presidents years ago, and they haven't left. They continue to participate in calls every month. They contribute to all the committees when they can. They haven't given up because they know the importance of this organization to our profession. I'm excited to join that group. It is a privilege and an honor to be part of that group. It's been a privilege and an honor to be part of NACM since 2007. It's been a privilege to be your president this past year, but it's also a privilege to say, I'm ready to be past president. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome your new president. I didn't know Rick very well until he started as a director on the board of directors. I heard him, because if you know Rick's a very loud person. I heard Rick from every corner of the room. Rick is himself. He's a father. He is a professional, a comedian, a lover of music and all things, everything. If I played Trivial Pursuit with you, I would lose quickly. I know that, and that's okay. But he is a leader that will take this organization to great heights, and I am thrilled at what's going to happen over the next 12 months. Rick is dedicated, and one of the things that we were talking about the last couple of days is the idea of calling him coach because of his love of sports. It's because he is someone who takes pride in what he does and wants to help others that are walking the walk with him. So, Rick, I know you will do great things, and I know that you can't do it by yourself, but it is with the work of the great board of directors. So I welcome your new 23-24 President, Rick Pierce.
Am I on? Okay, I am. Oh, Jeffrey, don't go anywhere. First honor that I have of meeting with all of you is to actually recognize, well, now he's our immediate past president, Mr. Jeffrey Sunakawa. So, Jeffrey, please come up here. You've heard a lot about Jeffrey from others, and what you have not heard is much about him from him. That's because he's an incredibly humble man. He's also a very courageous man. When we were addressing as a board internally, we talked on Saturday about how we pass through moments in time and individuals come and individuals go, and that we have to hold on to those precious moments that when we are with those individuals and really cherish them, because we know they're not going to be forever, that they're sometimes fleeting, but still that they mean so much to us. And I said to Jeffrey, I said, well, you're not just a board colleague or a colleague, you're a true dear friend. And I said, once you're in my heart, you'll always be in my heart. And my friend, Jeffrey Sunakawa, please give him a standing ovation, because he deserves it.
Dude.
Thank you.
Thank you. It'll be great. Thank you.
I'll try not to use the podium. I don't like to be tethered to the podium, but at the same point in time, I do have some notes. At first, foremost, when you're taking this type of address, you want to express your sincere thanks to so many people. And I was really caught off guard and honored to be recognized by the Supreme Court of my Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And that meant an awful lot to me. And I expressed my dear thanks to Chief Justice Todd, to our State Court Administrator, Jeff Moulton, and to my immediate supervisors, Director Joe Middleman and Assistant Director Christy Bean, for their guidance and continued support. I'm really excited and honored to be recognized here today by our incoming State Court Administrator, Andrea Tuomanen. And Andrea is really a bright, shining star that we have, and we're all thrilled that she'll be taking over in October. And I'm very honored that you were here to give me the remarks and swear me in, so thank you. I want to thank all of you because I am just a placeholder in this position, and I really behold this title in name only. This is your organization. I'm just blessed to be a part of it and a part of you. I also want to thank those individuals who are, as in our member partner organizations from my home state in Pennsylvania, and a few of them are here, for those influential leaders that I've had and incurred over my 35 years in the Commonwealth, those that have come before me and those that remain. And I'm very blessed to be in a very strong state organization named PACM. I'm also blessed to have gone through and experienced the tutelage of so many NACM leaders. Unfortunately, there are too many to name individually, but you've heard a lot of their names already. But suffice to say, it really does take a village to groom me, and it does. And the heart of these volunteers is absolutely unquestioned and as strong as any as I've ever met. I would like to recognize 2 past presidents of NACM and a third who served as president of the Mid-Atlantic Association for Court Management while my time on that board there. These 3 are very near and dear to me for having served as my immediate predecessors in NACM and as my mentor. Jude Del Prior, please stand. Pam Harris, and Howard Birchtold. If you have volunteered your time and talent to a NACM board or a committee, please stand. There we go. Okay. Please remain standing. If you have volunteered to present or educate your colleagues in this organization, please stand. If you volunteered your time and talent to your state, regional, or tribal association, please stand. Look at how many people are in this room standing. Thank you all. As NACM members, we welcome our partners and we talked to them on Monday when we first arrived. But I encourage your engagement as the NACM board will continue to engage with those partners and those relationships that we truly cherish, such as the Conference of State Court Administrators, the Conference of Chief Justices, the National Center for State Courts, the National Association of State Judicial Educators, the Conference of Court and Public Information Officers, the National Conference for Family and Juvenile Court Judges, American Judges Association, the National Court Reporters Association, and the National Association of Presiding Judges and Court Executive Officers. It is these partners and those partners with our court, status, and regional associations that we really desire to grow and strengthen. Additionally, as we had talked about this week, we will continue to seek out forums and focus groups designed to move the needle toward a more inclusive environment to all who come to our courts, our customers, and our employees. We must create a sense of belonging to all by embracing the uniqueness of the individual as well as the commonality of all of us that all of us portray. We'll talk about a little bit about that more in a minute. We will continue to grow our brand and promote our brand of the National Association of Court Management and our profession through communication. Some of that you heard already this morning. Many thanks to May and her crew as we will continue to enhance our website and our presence on social media. We also plan to provide guides and suggested practices in addressing the emerging threats as well as emerging opportunities in the areas of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. I have to remember to move the clicker. So families and relationships are very important to me. And as you see here on the screen, this is our NACM family. Many of you in this room are in this picture. Thankfully, I'm hidden from view. Relationships and experiences that cultivate those relationships and even define those relationships, personal and professional, are what make us unique and human. Okay, so this is my family, not on our best day. Okay, it was a very hot, smoky day in our nation's capital about a month ago. We don't look the greatest there, but they couldn't be here in person, but here they are in a photo, so I wanted to share that with you. Speaking of families and important relationships, I want to introduce you to my next family. Some of you probably can imagine what this is, and some of you already heard throughout the week what else I do, and that is, this is my football family. I am a high school football coach, and I have been doing that for the past 35 years. So what we do with, I'm going to walk through with you something that we do with my teammates or my players every year. This is an exercise. It's called holding the rope. It's an exercise where we challenge players to understand the importance of teamwork, commitment, and addressing adversity. Those are some of the same things that we have to do as court administrators, isn't it? Every year and every day. Now, I'm going to pull out what we have here is, unfortunately, it is not as long as what I am used to, but that's okay. It'll work. And so you thought that this was just going to be somebody standing up there talking for a few minutes. Well, to some extent it is, but to some extent this is called active participation. So, in this exercise that we do with our players, we are required, we ask a player to pick up the rope. The rope must be completely straight, completely unfurled, uncoiled, held aloft by one hand. This court would represent, or this rope would represent your court, could represent this association, could also actually represent an individual as well. Now, ideally, can I really do this on my own? One hand and get this rope above my head without it touching the ground and without it being straight? No. Yet, many times we attempt to do that. I could use a little assistance. A little more, because you don't see, still not getting off the ground. So now you are all invited to participate in this exercise. If you would like, feel free to come up and grab onto the rope and lift. Now, the rope has something very unique that I talk about with my players as well as individuals. And see, don't let any gaps here now. We got some dips, so that's why it requires a lot of active participation. You don't have to hold it real high. But the rope is made up of individual fibers, thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands of them. But each fiber is very unique, but yet when woven together with all the other fibers, they create something very powerful and very strong, called a rope that you would actually be able to assist you with in whatever you're looking to do. But the rope is a symbol. It's a symbol of courage. It's a symbol of hope. But most of all, it's a symbol of the power of connection. Our theme this year, connection. Connection in the sense that what we're talking about here, that the rope is a symbol not of coercive power, but of relational power. Many of us know the distinction between the two because we've experienced what that's like in our organization, whether it be an individual trying to coerce us to take some type of action, or whether it's to actually find and say there's something there that's a mutual interest. So coercion involves control, command, and even some fear. But relational involves the mutual want and the mutual interest. Okay, thank you all for holding the rope, and thank you for participating. While those folks sit down, what we do with the players, obviously they can't do that themselves, and they know that, but they immediately grab on, and they immediately carry it with them. I'll take that. Thank you, Ken. So why did we come to Tampa? We came to Tampa because we had an opportunity to grow. And we had an opportunity to share our experiences with one another, professionally and personally. And I will tell you that so many of you in this room, I look around and see so many faces of people that have made such a positive impact on my life and in my career. And I am truly blessed for those experiences. As each one of us tries to find our why or our purpose, we realize, like me, moving back and forth here now, that sometimes it's a moving target. And many times that those whys change over the course of our lives, and that we realize that we actually have several purposes, and some of those purposes all come at the same time. But I can rest assured that from all of you and my experiences with all of you is that your one purpose that remains constant is to dedicate yourself to the serving of others. And there's no greater purpose in this world than to serve your fellow man. And I thank you all for taking that leap. I'll just go through these quickly. These are some of my other players from the past years. As I reflect on my purpose, my why, I recall the writings of 20th century writer, philosopher, and theologian C.S. Lewis. Anyone heard of C.S. Lewis? Okay. So C.S. Lewis wrote, when he's talking about leading, he says, "We must lead with love. We lead with love, the love for the thoughts we think. We lead with love for the actions that we take. And most of all, we lead with love for those we seek to help. For without love, without empathy, we are empty, completely void of the characteristics that make us uniquely human." And love coincides with what we all have, is that inner light. And when I think of inner light, I won't sing, but I recall a song when I was very little growing up. And I actually have to hold my finger when I think of this, because this is what we always used to do. And there's a song called "This Little Light of Mine," and I'm gonna let it shine. And what I reckon with that is because it was kind of a directive to say, let it shine, but I look at all of you, and I really do believe that that has taken place from all of you in your lives and in your careers. So love coincides with that light. And yet, as I was reading about one of the most unique but probably wonderful, beautiful man that our world has known in the 20th century, and that would have been South African President Nelson Mandela. When he talks about light, though, he says, the thing about us human beings sometimes, many times often, we are afraid of our own light. We're afraid because of what it could provide us. And even though in the back of our minds, we know that that light provides guidance, it provides strength, it provides healing, it restores, and yet we prefer to be in the darkness, to be anonymous. And I don't think that's true of all of you, though, because of the fact that I know when you're here and when you go back in your court, you let people know how much they mean and that they care, and that is part of that. But we have to know that we sometimes revert in our own, when we have those dark moments, and I have plenty, we refer to the cold darkness and to remain anonymous, and we fear that light. But I challenge all of us to say we're not going to adhere to that. We are going to show our light. Each one of us is a point of light. And it's bright in its own remark, just like each one. This rope is made up of thousands of fibers, and each one of those fibers is strong. But when we touch another individual and we touch another light, the light grows and the darkness becomes less. And then another light touches and becomes even less, until now there is no darkness. But we do that touching of light by the establishment and building of relationships. Now, I will tell you, investing in relationships comes with risk. And that risk is those closest to us will cause us the most sorrow, the most pain, sometimes, most times unintentionally or unavoidably. That sorrow is sometimes associated with the pain of someone leaving us. Someone who has let go of the rope. We do our utmost to hold on to them, but all the while we know that at some point they will let go. In fact, they must let go. Still, we soldier on, and for that I am eternally grateful to work side by side with individuals who care and strive to make a difference in the lives of those less fortunate. However subtle, we show them that they are not alone, and we are a beacon to guide them through some dark moments. We do shine our light. We fully embrace the notion that each life is precious and meaningful. No one is invisible, and everyone is present. And yet it's a challenge. It's a challenge that we have to communicate that premise, and we do that, and in order to meet that challenge, we must engage all of our senses. We must see with wide open eyes. We must hear with attentive ears. We must think with an open mind. And most of all, we must feel with our entire heart. And that's a challenge, and that's the challenge that is before us. But we can do this. We must do this. That is what we call perspective taking. That is what we call connection. And that is what I call holding the rope. Now, as our time with you is finishing up here, I ask you to make a promise to yourself and to those whom you care about and then those whom you serve. And so that promise is simple. That promise is the three words that were on the screen there before on the last slide, that you're going to hold the rope. That you're going to hold the rope for those who are less fortunate, and you're also going to hold the rope for yourselves. So, what are we going to do when we leave here? What are we going to do here? One more time. You're darn right we will. Thank you.